We're going to need to set that to a different docket ongoing. And I believe Thursday is our other docket. Is that right? I believe that is our other.
Yes, Your Honor, Thursday at 10:30.
Okay, so it will need to be set over till Thursday at 10:30.
Your Honor, this is Sherry Farr, the guardian ad litem in this case.
Yes.
Could we set it to the 25th, please?
That's probably safer just with our weather conditions anyway. So yeah, we can set it to the 25th for CPS information.
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor, and we're also waiting. This is Sherry Farr, guardian ad litem, court visitor. We're also need the prepared order, the findings, and I just received that from Ms. Holt yesterday, so we haven't had time to get that to the court.
Do you know when we requested the CPS information again?
I can tell you, just a second.
I know we're having some difficulties with that, it seems like.
Yes. I think it was requested back in June.
We probably should send in another.
Your Honor, this is the clerk. We did just semi-recently get a secondary email that we can send these to, so the clerk's office can resubmit this one.
Let's do that, and then assuming all goes well, do we want to go out a few weeks on this one?
I know once they receive it, it takes at least 3 weeks.
Okay, so maybe if we went out to about the 13th of February.
Okay.
At 10:30, that should give us hopefully enough time to get it back.
Thank you.
Mr. Reisenberg, it's the 13th of February at 10:30. That'll be in this document. I do have what appears to be a stack of paperwork here. It's signed by Mr. Grunitz, signed by Louis Tellez. Have you seen that, counsel?
No, I have not.
Neither have I.
Okay, so, well, I have one here. It says we probably need to have you folks look at it before I enter that, I assume.
And Mr. Gronowitz, Corey, the petitioner, he is not able to appear today due to the weather and he had to go to work. So we agreed that we would set this over anyway.
Okay. And I see Buffy Gronitz is present. And I'm sure I don't see a Jason here. So when did we want to set this to?
Well, depending on what that stack of papers is.
It looks like everything. I've got the findings, I got the order on emergency guardian, and I have these are proposed, a residential schedule.
Oh, okay.
So,
I would say at least 2 weeks, so I can get in touch with him and have him send that to both Mr. Reisenberg and I.
Okay. Do you want to go 2 or 3?
Do you have a preference, Mr. Reisenberg?
I don't. It's up to you.
How about 3?
Okay. So, and I'll, like I said, I've got this packet here. I assume they can send you another copy. And I can just hang on to these, or you can check with the clerk's office. They'll have the orders, and we're waiting for that next hearing. Regina Federley is present. Thank you. Do we have anybody else here on this matter?
Your Honor, I can't find my daughter. She is homeless in Utah, which is why I do have my grandson. She calls me sporadically from a gas station phone, and I have not heard from her since the 8th. I'm looking at my call log now, since January 8th, so a little over a week. And it was just long enough for her to tell me that she was in jail. She's gonna try and get some services, and love you, bye. Very short, very sweet. Xavier has not wanted to talk to her, so I haven't made him.
Okay.
There's some trauma there, Your Honor.
Let me stop you for just a second. Ms. Farr, have you had a chance to look at this case at all?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I didn't know I was assigned to this one.
Well, I've got your name on it. I'm not
Yep.
sure how that happened, but
That might be my mistake.
well, it maybe we didn't get you an order or something. I don't know, but your name is on it. I can just give you a little background as Ms. Federley was just indicating. Mom's in Utah someplace. Father is not on the birth certificate in this matter,
Okay.
so I guess it'll be up to you to check with her, see how we want to proceed on services or service.
Sure. Miss Federley, if you want to get a hold of me today, I'd be happy to help you. If she's in jail, we can easily serve her there.
She's not in jail. She's homeless. She was in jail. I take that back. She was in jail. She called me from jail on Sunday the 7th, and then called me again on Monday the 8th to tell me that she was out. Yeah, I don't know how much detail you want me to give right now, but
If you just want to call me this afternoon at my office, I'll be working and we can see how we can proceed.
okay, hold on just a quick sec. I thought I had a pen with me. I do. Hold on. Miss Farr, may I please get your phone number, please?
360.
And are you the visitor that I'm supposed to be talking to help me with service?
According to Judge Bashor, I am.
You are, and I'm looking for the order. There it was. You were appointed December 26th. It looks like.
It might be my oversight.
Yeah, this was Commissioner Carmi did that.
Okay.
So obviously you haven't had a chance to look at.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
On the last court hearing, they did put the wrong last name for my grandson. My grandson's last name is not Hartley. His last name is my daughter's married name.
Okay. That's where I do have a case under Hartley. Okay.
And yeah, I have not been able to do anything with that because of the wrong last name. I can't get him on my insurance at work. I can't do anything until that's corrected.
So I'm going to extend that order because that expires as of today. I'll extend that order and I'll get the name correct on it. It looks like it's correct on pleading on the order.
On the original, it is. On the extended, it is not.
Okay. I'll fix that on this copy, so you'll be able to get a copy of that later this afternoon.
Perfect.
That'll be fixed. And Ms. Barr, how much time do you think you need to look at this? This is on an immediate order extension still. So
probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And then I'll get that order extending done right after this docket and filed, and then we'll plan on coming back and I'll get that name corrected on the caption.
I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I believe that is everything on this docket.
My apologies, Your Honor. This is the clerk. I missed that date. Was it February 6th?
February 6th at 10:30, and I'll have an order for you as soon as I can get it filled out.
Thank you.
All right. And we will adjourn on that. So get a hold of Ms. Farr. She'll be able to walk you through that process.
Is there a time better to contact you, Ms. Farr? I do work overnights and I try to be in bed by 4.
Just give me a call when it's convenient for you. And if I don't answer, I'll give you a call back.
Perfect. Okay.
Didn't catch that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A good cause act has been
Have a good
taken out
afternoon.
against the petitioner through DSHS.
I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not either.
DSHS has primarily taken over handling support as far as I'm understanding. I've been out of work for the last month and a half. Our 3-year-old daughter has had pneumonia and I have not been able to work. And if you couple that with no support from the petitioner, I had to go to DSHS to ask for help with childcare to get back to work, and also help with food, basic food, and took out TANF until I can get back to work. I have a review February 1st, and I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get back to work then. But our daughters had to have multiple x-rays bout of pneumonia has kind of started some asthma issues for her. So.
Okay. So
Your Honor, shed light on the good cause if the court is curious.
I just not heard it called that before. I assume if we're proceeding ahead, your office wants to be involved in this case.
Well, we would be, except that when good cause is alleged, an investigation is done within the community service office to determine whether or not it's in the family's best interest for the Division of Child Support to collect or enforce child support. If good cause is found, our office will not be involved. The court can still enter a child support order, but the Division of Child Support will not be able to enter one administratively if there's a good cause finding.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's helpful I mean, the court can still go ahead and enter child support. It always has been able to do that.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure the court understood that when she said there's a good cause determination happening, it means that administratively nothing might be able to be accomplished.
I don't think that changes anything because they're just going to enter a support order in some fashion, and then we're going to enter support, which this would trump that, correct?
Right. I had just heard Ms. Gilmore indicate that they may be doing this administratively or through the court process. And so our office may become involved in the future. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate the information.
Okay. So I guess my question then becomes, I'm looking at the income figures that you put in your worksheet, and if she's not currently working for whatever reason, that may impact the numbers somewhat.
And honestly, this is the first I've heard that the child is sick or that she's not working. She did provide responsive materials, and my client did provide information about child support in our original declaration. She didn't make any specific request, if I recall. I can pull that up. But it does seem like she has plans to return to work. I'm not sure.
I do have plans to return to work, Your Honor. It's just determined upon my daughter's health and well-being at this point.
Well, if I look at her financial declaration, assuming you're working, I assume you'd be doing the same thing you were doing previously.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Same company.
All right. So you've got it listed about $250 more on your worksheet than she's got in her declaration.
Yeah, I'm not positive of where the petitioner and his attorney came up with their numbers per se. A lot of that was kind of wildly inaccurate. So I'm not really sure as far as the petitioner's income versus my income. There's a quite a large gap between the two. So.
And I'm happy to make argument whenever you're ready.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Just for the record, again, Megan Gilmore on behalf of the petitioner. This is before the court on our motion, and we are only addressing child support today. As detailed within my client's declaration, he works a 6-month on, 6-month off schedule, 12-hour days, 7 days a week. In other words, my client works a full year's worth of hours within 6 months and then lives off of that income for the remaining half of the year. As shown within the attached bank statements, my client had no income from November of 22 into April of 23, acknowledging that this is the historical status quo. I don't think that that's really disputed between the parties. While my client was in Alaska commencing in April of 23, respondent spent nearly every dollar of my client's income. We provided detailed breakdowns and summaries of the deposits as well as withdrawals. I'm not going to go through and summarize each month. I think that we walk that through pretty specifically within our declarations. But for example, in August of 2023, there was deposits of $16,351. My client estimates the household expenses as well as his expenses totaled $2,500. However, there was total withdrawals of $16,064. Therefore, the remaining $13,495 went to respondent, including $1,300 to third parties via pay apps. The court can see these transactions are happening month after month from April to October, when my client finally stopped depositing his check right before he returned home. When he returned home, there was negative funds left in the bank account. So at this point, my client deposited all of his income into this bank account and returned back to Washington in October with no funds remaining. My client is looking for work. However, this is an unusual situation, as again, he works 6 months on, 6 months off. So there was no expectation that he was going to be working for the 6 months. And so when he returned, he kind of had to completely readjust his situation. He also has the ability to return to Alaska in April, but he won't be able to obviously have full-time employment and do that as well. Again, he's just simply trying to make ends meet and keep a roof over his head, given the fact that his entirety of his income for 2023 was drained. For the purposes of this motion, again, it is an unusual situation. We are asking the court to impute him at full-time minimum wage, at least for the next 3 months until he goes back to Alaska or obtains employment. We do ask the court give him some leeway in either getting an employment or allowing him to go back to Alaska, as explained in his declaration. We are in an unusual situation, as he does want to prioritize the parenting plan and reestablishing his relationship with his children, but also understands that he has an obligation to support his children. As to respondent's income, I used her pay stub that she submitted within her materials from September 15th. That showed her having a gross annual income of $41,294. I divided that figure by 9.5 months, which gave her a gross of $4,346, or net income with standardized taxes of $3,648. I think it's important to note that was based on average, and that's what I used for my worksheets. But if you look to that last pay stub that was submitted just for a 2-week period, her net income was $2,500. Therefore, if she kept working that same amount, her total net income for that period would have been $5,000. So I think there's really adjustment here, but within the worksheets that I provided, I gave her that leeway and average rather than using just that last pay stub. My client also explains in his declaration that he has a child that he supports outside of this relationship pursuant to court order in Oregon. He explains that he has fallen behind on that obligation after the bank account was drained. Based on these figures, both my client imputed a full-time minimum wage and the current figures that we have for wife, and we asked the court to order my client to pay $511 for child support a month. Again, my client will have difficulties even paying this obligation, but we do believe that the children will be adequately supported, as simply we just don't know the information on what income she actually has continued to have in her bank account ongoing. This needs to be borne out through discovery. We need more information about what my client's going to do long-term with his employment. And so we do ask the court to adopt our figures, as we believe that it's fair and equitable given the current situations. If the court is inclined, I think that it may be appropriate to set a review for April or May to determine where my client's at and potentially enter a subsequent child support order once we have more information.
And Ms. Shefsek, excuse me, anything you'd like to say about that request?
Yeah, again, those numbers are wildly inaccurate. She did take those numbers from my pay stub, Your Honor, but you can clearly see in my pay stub that added to those pay stubs were my bonuses for my retention, which only happen once yearly. So those are not my average pay. My average pay is very clearly marked, and then the bonus is added to that. My normal 2-week take-home pay is around $1,500. And so I want to make that pretty clear. The documents that I submitted to the court, including my pay stub, show that there.
You're muted, ma'am. Ma'am, you need to unmute. I don't know what happened there. I lost about the last 30 seconds.
She is correct that it was.
You were talking about the, I think you said 1,500 net income?
Yeah, it's about 1,500 net every 2 weeks. I'm paid on the 10th and the 25th of each month.
Okay.
I would also like to add, Your Honor, I've got verification from Mr. Shefchek's mother-in-law that he has been working under the table for her through her tow company. So he had
anything that's not in detailed in the declaration.
All right. If you haven't filed something, I can't have you argue that, ma'am. So if it's not included in a declaration that you've
right,
already...
and Yes, I just got this information, so I have not had the opportunity to respond adequately because we only had a week holdover. So, but if I could go back, Your Honor, to the bank account, when Mr. Shevchuk returned, I had opened my own account. I have a text from him telling me to take the money that is in the account and use it to pay the rent for the following 2 months. We clearly had separated and opened up separate accounts, so I moved that money into my account to pay our rent, which I have receipts for. But because of that overdrafted account in December, my account, because we're still legally married and have the same last name and we're through the same bank, my account was completely drained and used to bring his account current to close his account. So again, we're kind of at a deficit here. I have no hidden savings. I have no money put away. I'm a single mom with 3 kids working full-time as a crisis counselor, doing what I can.
Okay. Ms. Gilmore, any response?
Again, I'm not aware of any funds used to equalize. It was a joint account. I do agree that it was in the negative. I'm not aware of any funds were used, but the negative was about $600 at the time of separation. So I think it's just undisputed that my client, the entirety of his income was used either appropriately or not appropriately, and he's starting at 0 at this point. And so the question is, what does it look like moving forward? And he needs time and opportunity to either get a job or return to work, and he can't do that right now. So I think April is the soonest. And so, but for putting an appropriate amount that he somehow can hopefully collect, nickeling, diming, and borrowing and from family, he's going to be delinquent. So I do ask the court to adopt our numbers and set a review.
All right. Well, I'm probably going to have you rerun your worksheet. And here's my quandary. Looking at the financial declaration that was filed December 14th by Mrs. Shevchuk, and it calculates down to a net income of $2628. The front face of it shows the net income as $3412. And then what I'm hearing her say today is that she takes home $1,500 every 2 weeks, which is around $3,000, so kind of in the middle of that. Here's what I'm going to have you do. I'm going to have you rerun the worksheet with her at $3,000 net and your client at the minimum that you've used net. And then the whole family deviation, I think you cranked that in there, which is appropriate given what I know about the case. So if you want to rerun that and submit a support, I don't know what that number is going to be. Her income does not have a significant impact on the base support amount. It might impact the whole family a little bit, but it's probably could still be in that same range.
Okay.
So if you could rerun those and then submit a proposed support order that includes the percentages off of the worksheet, as well as the support amount after this residential credit calculation, then that's what I'll approve.
Okay.
I'd like to have some language in there that, depending upon discovery on both sides, that may be adjusted retroactively if more information comes forth that this isn't accurate.
And we didn't discuss taxes. I just plan on reserving.
I didn't say anything about taxes.
Sorry, I'm just dealing with other issues of the order, just so that I'm just going to reserve on taxes.
That's fine. I don't know if anybody, that's probably you're going to want to talk about that. There may be some advantages to filing jointly or separately or not, depending on circumstances. Right. So I'll not order anything on that, and I will, as part of a temporary order, say that neither party should file for taxes until you've at least had an opportunity to discuss that issue and see what the implications of that are, because there may be some significant ones.
Okay. And then presentation.
We could do that. Could either do it on this docket, or we could do it on Friday at 8:45. This docket's probably easier.
This docket's fine.
Okay. Do you want 2 weeks or 1 week?
Ms. Shevchuk, what works best for you?
2 weeks would be good.
Okay. Oh, that's
yeah.
We'd have to go 3 because we do have that docket closed on the 30th. I've forgotten about that.
That's fine. The 6th.
The 6th of February at, and
1 o'clock.
we have Miss
Thank you.
Sanders?
Yes, I see you're on there.
I'm present.
Oh, okay. So just for the record, this doesn't really make a difference one or the other to me. I am a very shirt tail relation, I believe, to Mr. McCrae, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very, very short tail. I think we discovered that about 10 years ago and haven't seen each other since, so it's not obviously a close relationship. Does that have any, that doesn't affect my ability to hear the case unless somebody's got a concern about that?
I think we have seen one another, but it's only been in court, Your Honor, sometime over the last 10 years. And it certainly doesn't affect my my desire to have the case heard by her.
And Your Honor, it doesn't affect my decision on you hearing it as well. I'm only asking at this point, are we gonna get another judge on the next issue? Or, because I mean, we've had like several judges now, and I don't know what happened to our other one, but
part of
not
what,
that it matters.
yeah, part of what happened was as of January 1, we had a rotation shift, so I'll be doing this docket going forward unless there's some particular reason why I'm gone a particular day, but I'll be doing this docket. So if you're on this docket, you'll have me. So
Okay, all right, I'm good with that, Your Honor.
okay. So just a second here. Let me get into this one. To do with an insurance check, essentially, as I understand it.
Yes, sir.
And we're looking at a provision that came out of an order. It was entered by Judge Scudder November 15th of last year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
March, yeah, March 2nd, 2022.
Oh, okay, that would have been an earlier one. I'm looking at the
Or November 22nd, sorry. A lot of twos, not a lot of twos in that day. So it's November 22nd, 2022. Yeah.
Okay, so and I've read through everything, and so Mr. Rand, this is your request.
Yes, sir.
It's not entirely clear to me exactly the status of this whole check, based on what I've seen from both sides of it. So if you can explain that to me so I have a better understanding of it.
Absolutely. So the check was, the fire happened back in September 21, and the check was, the claim was quickly processed. The matter of fact, the inspector that inspected it came out within 30 days from the insurance company. He came out and inspected it. He gave us an estimation of damages. He sent a check to me for a little over $8,000. And for a year, I tried to get Miss Sanders to fix this, just figuring I'd fix it myself. I'm a general contractor myself. I've been GC, a general managing building multi-million-dollar homes for 7 years now, and I'm back to being my own general contractor again. And I just figured I'd do it myself. Well, she didn't want me to do it because she figured I'd do some shoddy work, which is kind of silly considering I work on really expensive homes. So in November of 22, I finally took her to court to get this check figured out because, the inside of the house is starting to deteriorate. It is a lath and plaster house. And without this cedar shake siding on the side of the house, even a tarp or tar paper stapled up isn't enough of a moisture barrier to keep that moisture from getting into plaster, because plaster is extremely porous. So it's starting to fail on the inside of the bathroom, and my bathroom's cold. So we had another check reissued at December 15th. I've got a confirmation. It is in the exhibits, Your Honor, from Orion, the adjuster. He did reissue the check. In the orders, now Mr. McCrae is going to tell you that, that we were supposed to get 3 bids and, this, that, and the other. But that was never, number one, that was never ordered by Mr. Scudder. And number two, in the state of Washington, whether it be auto insurance or homeowners insurance, it's not required to get 3 bids as the state of Washington. And in my declaration, I provided you with that paperwork from the state of Washington and the Insurance Commission. We delivered them. They asked us to give them a bid. We gave them the bid in March of 2023. I believe his secretary, Valerie, was out of town until, looks like she contacted back in April 12th. She contacted me explaining that she'd been on vacation. She asked what she was supposed to do with the check. I explained to them that they have to send it to Carrington, have them sign it, and send it back. I had already signed the check, and at that point, Selena would have to sign it, and then they would have been able to deposit it into their into their trust account. Now, this is something that I explained to them how to do it when I first sent them the check, and they're going to claim that I've been difficult in all of this. And I admit I did get a little unruly with Mr. McCray, and I you can say I professionally apologize for that. This has been a very pretentious divorce and very difficult. So I'm just trying to get the house fixed and not have a 50-degree toilet like today when it's 17 degrees out. And they took responsibility of the check and they just didn't follow through with it.
So let me ask you just one question for clarification. You said that there was a check that was done, then it's been reissued December 15th of 2023 or 2024 or
2022 or 2023. March of 2023 is when I sent them the check, and I believe it was reissued of December 15th of 2022. I've got the phone conversation and the email from Ryan confirming that the check was reissued. The second check that was reissued didn't have an expiration date on it. So it's still, even today, that check is still good.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct, Your Honor, and we are in possession of the check. What Mr. Ram fails to tell the court is that there were certain procedures that had to have been followed in order for the mortgage company to set up what's called a loss track. My client only recently found that out. She certainly had concerns about Mr. Ram based upon previous dealings where he had taken a check, a tax return check, and had cashed that, kept all of the funds. So she certainly had concerns, valid concerns, about what he would do if a check was simply sent back to him. And at this point, I'm not sure exactly what needs to be done, other than we want to get the house repaired as soon as possible as well. It's a joint asset that will need to be divided before it can be sold or even appraised. Obviously, the work needs to be done. So I think at this point, what needs to happen is that Mr. Ram needs to set up the loss track account. There's a registration to do that. And my feeling is that Mr. Ram knew this when he received the very first check. But the second check was, in fact, issued. An account needs to be set up, a loss track account. The check needs to be sent up to the mortgage company after that account is set up, that registration is set up. And the reason they do this is because the amount in question is large enough that they want to make sure that repairs are done and properly done on time, that type of thing. And the other concern we have is that the DHR Construction, they're personal friends with Mr. Ram, and he's had many dealings with him. So what we were concerned about is him simply giving a check to DHR and something untoward happening as far as the work being done, potential money coming back to Mr. Ram. And the only reason we do this is because of the dealings that Ms. Sanders has had with him in the past. So I don't think it was, if there was any dilatory actions, it was on Mr. Ram's part. One, when he first got the check, he held onto it for about 4 months before he even sent it on to us. And as far as not having an order regarding 3 bids, it was not an order of the court that was placed in paper, but Commissioner Scudder had indicated you should probably get 3 bids on this. And because we had expressed our concerns about who he was dealing with, this DHR construction. So while it did not end up in an order, it was certainly dicta on Commissioner Scudder's part. I don't think we're necessarily worried about that at this point. We just want to make sure that the repairs get done. And if we have somebody like the mortgage company Carrington and their loss track following up on this and making sure that things are done, we anticipate that they will be done properly because there'll be somebody overseeing it. So I don't think there was any type of willful contempt on Ms. Sanders' part whatsoever. As far as the belligerence of Mr. Ram, I don't necessarily take that personally. The foul language he used towards my assistant, he apologized for that, and we accept his apology.
So with that being said, Your Honor, Ms. Sanders claims that there's been bad dealings, that I'm friends with DRH. I'd like to remind Your Honor that if she knew this about DRH construction, why is it in her declarations and everywhere else she's calling the contractor DHR construction? If she really knew of any bad dealings, she would also know that DRH construction stands for David Robert Heminger, who is 78 years old. He's extremely well at what he does. And she's correct. I am a heating and cooling guy by trade, and I have installed furnaces for him, and all jobs have always been paid, and there's never been any bad dealings or any discussion at any point. It's just honestly appalling that somebody would accuse me of essentially of insurance fraud, and yet another person that they personally don't really know and or has had any dealings with. Otherwise, she wouldn't have got his name wrong. And as far as being accused of depositing a tax check, that is absolutely incorrect. And I would implore her to provide proof of a tax check. It was actually a deposit check that was made on a building of mine down in Mapleton, Oregon, which has nothing to do with her as far as that's concerned. She doesn't bother paying taxes on it or anything else, so I don't see how that would ever be of concern. I just simply want the same thing as Vern does. DRH Construction has the experience and the ability to open up this house, and now it's going to be done in the wintertime, and it's going to be tougher to do because they're going to have to open the house and replace one, possibly two truss tails. So that means roofing's got to be removed and the house has got to be opened up. It's going to be a hassle to be done, but it needs to be done so we can move forward with this divorce. I've been living with this for nearly 3 years now, Your Honor, and I just want it done. And I know that DRH Construction is the man for the job, and whether or not Judge Scudder had even mentioned 3 bids, that still doesn't change the fact of the insurance commission. I know these facts because I used to have a license to sell insurance when I was younger, but we are not required to get multiple bids in the state of Washington for either auto claims or homeowner claims. And honestly, I went through even Angie's list and I couldn't get people this far out. So when DRH said he would do it, I was glad to have him on board.
Your Honor, we're really not worried about getting 3 bids this time. We just want to get this matter resolved. I think what needs to happen is that Mr. Ram is going to have to open up a loss track registration with Carrington Insurance, with the mortgage company, so the check can be given to them. If you actually take a look at the order was that the check was to be deposited in our trust account. It couldn't be deposited in our trust account because Carrington was one of the signatories on it, so we couldn't deposit it. It's in the file right here. So I think if Mr. Ram will get the loss track account set up, we can get the check sent up to Carrington, and the check doesn't have to go any farther than that. Then I think Carrington actually manages it to make sure that the repairs are done. If there's some concern about DHR or DRH, Carrington can deal with that. They're the ones that are paying out the money.
And I completely agree with Mr. McCrae on this.
Hold on just a minute here. This was sent out in March. It's now January. It's like 10 months.
Yes, sir.
But sir, just I don't need comments. So I don't understand why we're not asking to spend the money, it's just to get it deposited.
We weren't able to deposit it, Your Honor.
When did you figure that out?
I think we sent an email to Mr. Ram around the time that we determined that. I think that was either this last summer, I think.
That's that is incorrect, Your Honor. When I originally contacted Carrington about this, when this happened, there are emails between Ryan and I about how this is to go about, and he simply said, send it to Carrington.
Sir, just hold on.
No,
okay. Okay, I've got an email from your office, Mr. McRae, from Valerie, it looks like.
That's my assistant, yes.
Talina spoke to the insurance company in December of 2022.
That was regarding whether or not the check was still viable, I believe, Your Honor, the first check.
I don't see anything from Carrington requiring this process.
There isn't, Your Honor.
I've never heard such a thing.
This was in a declaration provided by my client, Your Honor, based on her telephone call.
I have a declaration from your client. I mean, from Carrington. Here's my concern. You got the check in March of last year. Somebody, I would think, would have contacted this bank and figured out what needs to be done. I mean, it still shouldn't be floating around. This is almost a year later. 10 months. So and I don't know if Mr. Ram needs to set this thing up, if that's what needs to happen. I'm going to put this over 2 weeks. I want something from the insurance company that tells me what the issue is.
The insurance
or the money needs to be deposited.
The insurance company or the
mortgage company gets the money. Puts the money into your trust. We'll sort out who's going to do the work and pay for it all. That's not even an issue. The issue is the judge got to order the check to be deposited a long time ago, and it's still sitting here. And that was on a contempt hearing back in November of 2022.
Ms. Sanders, you can hear me. If you will follow up on that and get that information. I just want to clarify from the court, Your Honor, I'm not sure if the court wants something from the insurance company or from the mortgage company. The insurance company has simply cut the check. It's the mortgage company that is.
That's fine. Yeah, whoever you're telling me says will not let this happen and what the process needs to be.
Okay.
If you have it deposited in your account in 2 weeks, that's fine. That'll resolve it. Otherwise, I want to see something from the insurance company.
Get that information, Your Honor. If we can get the check deposited into our trust account in the meantime, we'll certainly do so. But if not, we'll tell the court exactly why.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Ram.
That should be all for today on that one.